Hi, beautiful people. How is it going out there? I hope you're doing great. Today, we're going to look at the astrology for 2025. So, better late than never, right? And it's going to be a pretty interesting year, if you ask me. This video is not for the faint of heart, and I just wanted to give you a little heads up before we start. As an Aries, I will be honest. I will be pointing out the more difficult times. And as Saturn and Neptune are closing into each other, which is actually one of the most important things that are going to take place this year, it's not a time for spiritual gaslighting. March and April are going to be pretty important. I think during the summer, things will calm down a bit. But during the fall and the last few months are actually going to be a bit of a shit show, I guess. So hold on tight. So in this video, we'll go over the numerology, the planetary shifts of 2025, the new and the full moons, the eclipses, the retrogrades, especially Mercury and Venus retrograde in March. And I'm also going to highlight the North Node Neptune conjunction that is going to start in the beginning of February. So this month will actually be like a month to prepare ourselves. So even though it's already quite stormy, enjoy the last calmness before the storm. Because, February, the North Node and Neptune are going to meet. Expect a very powerful surge of Neptunian influence. So Neptune rules over illusions, over idealism. And in the past, this has manifested as a very powerful cyclones and storms that, have really been written into the history books. So Pisces and Neptune, they rule over water, over our oceans, and Neptune washes away so we can start anew. So we're going to start with the numerology of 2025, because if you equal all the numbers, if you equal 2 plus 2 plus 5 is 45, then 4 plus 5 is 9. And nines are about wrapping up something. It's like a big cycle is coming to an end. So this year is the end of something big, and then the next cycle in 2026 starts with number 1. And it's really crazy how the astrology really correlates with the numerology this year, because all of the outer planets are going to change signs this year, which is very incredible. They will start with a new type of energy, which correlates to the signs that they're going to jump into. And then shortly they will move back to their old or their current energy, to wrap something up before they all go fully into their new signs in 2026. And this is very big, guys. This year is going to be a big preparation for 2026. So number 9 is a 9 year is the end of an era. It's a year to complete unfinished business, reach conclusions, and tie up loose ends. And the actions that you're going to be making this year will help you to fully step into the next 9 years without the pressure of having to deal with unresolved matters of the past that are going to pulling you back. So this year can be seen as if one door closes, another one opens. So don't refuse to accept all these new doors, and don't be mad if some very important doors close. Because if you're going to be focused on that, you will be very unable to recognize the new possibilities that 2026 will bring. So the 9 year really helps you to face the absolute reality of your past, and how is that impacting our present. So yeah, when we decide to how we want to create our next future, we first need to face reality. So if you look at it from a mundane level, this year will be a very big year based on facing reality. So we can let it go and start fresh in 2026. So yeah, it can be a very big moment of realizing where you stand today is a result of where you have been in the past. But before we can progress, we must fully accept and release our emotions, our mental issues, also physical issues, because the North nodes have shifted into Pisces and Virgo, which is the axis of our mental and physical health. And it's like being, we're going to have to face the aspects which no longer serve our purpose. And maybe things that are like chaining us to a point in time that will no longer exist after 2025 will be over. So it's really, really time to like integrate the past with the present, so that our potential of our future can be truly seen and felt. And this only happens when you achieve accepting the past exactly as it is. So the 9th year is like it could feel a bit as a sense of numbness or stagnation. And if you feel that, just know that it's related to number 9 and all these retrogrades that we've been going through lately. And Mars is about to end its retrograde by the end of February, but then Venus and Mercury are going to start retrograde. So yeah. It's a lot of focus on the past this year, and like people who refuse to accept their past really spend like their lives really rehashing the old situations, making the same old mistakes, and like they're unable to like accept new reality, and you can feel like very dissatisfied with everything. Yeah, a lot of people are going to try to justify their behavior by blaming others, by blaming time, by blaming life, and especially blaming themselves. And with the South Node that has currently moved into Virgo, we need to stop judging, we need to stop blaming others, but also especially ourselves. Yeah, it's really a time of letting go about these bad behaviors, actually. So this year of like endings and conclusions really offers you a chance to free yourselves of the beliefs that have really caused unhappiness and dissatisfaction. So it's a year that's going to teach you how to break free from the past by like releasing your grip on it. And without this understanding, you will forever be a victim of something that like once happened to you in your life. So it's like a very big time to heal. And it's so crazy that it's like in numerology, year of completion, as all these planets are going to shift signs. And if you're like into tarot cards, then the number 9 is actually connected to the Hermit card. So yeah, that's like a little bit of insight into the numerology. And now we can switch to the planetary shifts and look at this, guys. This is like incredible. Like, we've been looking as astrologers as when this happened back in time, and we need to go back 3,000 years to find 3 following years wherein all the outer planets change signs, because outer planets, they move slowly, they're very far away, they like operate in the background, it's about our collective unconsciousness, so they really do take a very long time to go through one sign. So for them to be all switching in like in a time span of 3 years, that is actually insane. Yeah, Pluto already shifted into Aquarius last year. That was on November 19th. And we all know that's about like major technological advancements. It's about collective groups, the internet, the future, a very big rebirth in that. And the last time that happened was like 1770 until 1790s. And then we had like the American and the French Revolution. So really it's about liberty and equality. So major changes that are going to eventually lead towards more power to the people. And then, yeah, also when we had Pluto in Aquarius, it was about the industrial revolution, like the steam engine also got invented. Uranus was discovered when Pluto was in the sign of Aquarius, and like it's so funny because when Pluto was in Aquarius last time, we discovered Uranus, and Uranus became Aquarius' modern day ruler. So with Pluto in Aquarius, we can see like a very big astronomical and astrological understandings that will like shift in a very big way. So very big innovation in science and things like getting invented or discovered. So hopefully that will be like a new planet that we can work with. And this energy will be present for us in the next 18 years. Then Neptune in Aries will shift on March 30th. And this is like a very, very big one. The last time we had Neptune in Aries was in 1861 until 1875. And Neptune actually jumped into Aries only one day after the American Civil War started. So Neptune in the sign of Aries. Aries rules over independence, very pioneering spirit, but also conflict and war. So of course, the American Civil War created a lot of division. And it was about like a very big split about beliefs of society and how like the governments of society was being done. And yeah, definitely a very, very big theme that is already coming up for the whole world right now. And in the late 1800s, we saw also like a very, very huge shift in cultural and spiritual movement. It's like spirituality became very, very popular. Like it was all about mysticism and other realms and beyond our what's fully able to being grasped. It's about religion. It's like about seances, mediumships. Connecting to the other sides became like a very, very big thing. It was also a very, very big time for art, for poetry, photography, like pictures, taking pictures became like normal and got like implemented in society back then. So that was also like a very, very big shift. Neptune in Aries also gave us like a very, very, a lot of mystery cases. We also had like the creation of the Brooklyn Bridge. It's made of steel, belongs to Aries. So yeah, it's like a very, very iconic image still up until the day. Another thing with Neptune in Aries was the Krakatoa volcanic eruption, and that happened in Indonesia. And it was like one of the most severe volcanic eruptions and explosions that we ever had on Earth. And it caused like major global effects. Another thing is that in 1889, the Eiffel Tower was built, and it was like a celebration of the 100-year anniversary of the French Revolution. So Neptune in Aries, a symbol of independence. So what also happened is that a lot of states, a lot of places in the US became states during that time. So we had like South and North Dakota, we had Montana and Washington, they all became states. And there was like a very, very big conflict between the native tribes, Aries. So yeah, Neptune in Aries is going to be very, very important. And now with Saturn joining the party in Aries, definitely big themes are going to be highlighted again. Saturn will jump in Aries on May 24th, and the last time Saturn was in Aries was in 1996 until 1999. And that was also a very, very striking time for Iraq and the Middle East. So Neptune and Saturn can be connected to genocide if you look back at historic circles. And it can be about stealing the land. And in some conjunctions, if we look back at historic circles, they are actually also connected to real pandemics. I will take like a deep dive into this theme in the second part of this video. And I mean, not this video, but I'm going to release a second part in this 2025 series, because the Neptune-Saturn conjunction is so important, and we will already feel its influence this year very, very strongly. But the conjunction will be exact in March 2026. So this year will be like build up towards this very, very important conjunction. Jupiter. So Jupiter will jump into Cancer on June 9th, and Jupiter enters like the same sign every 12 years. It has like a 12-year cycle, and it's going to be an exaltation in the sign of Cancer. So yeah, very good news. Jupiter is a great beneficer. It brings good things, optimism, like hope, growth, expansion. And currently it's still in Gemini, and it's in fall in Gemini. It does not like to be there. So all of 2024, we could have felt like less of its positive influence of Jupiter in our lives. And Saturn has been squaring Jupiter, so we had like a very big seesaw energy between feeling hopeful and between feeling optimistic. Like feeling the hope and the excitement, and then still losing the momentum. And like a feeling of we're almost there, but we're not yet. It's like, yeah, we're going to have one more Jupiter-Saturn square in June, but by then Jupiter will be in a good position because it will be in exaltation in Cancer, and Saturn in Aries will be in fall. So I think the last square will be a bit more easier than the ones we had before, but that's like only this aspect. There's so much more going on then. And if we look back at 2020, we all know what happened then. We've like spent the whole year at home, and we got to spend so much time with our kids, with our partners. We had a lot of time to go walk with the dog, to cuddle with the cats. And in 2020, the North Node, the sign of destiny, was in Cancer, our home and family. So yeah, you can see like now we're going to have Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. It's going to create a lot more optimism in that area. And we're not feeling that right now just yet because we're still in a Mars retrograde in the sign of Cancer. And it's going to end on the 24th of February. And that was way more about like defending the home and defending our family, feeling a bit moody, feeling very easily emotionally triggered. And yeah, it was like some of the lingering conflicts in regards to our family really rose or rise to the surface. So it was like a very, very big time for emotional healing and like clearing the past. But the good news is that Jupiter will enter Cancer on June 9th. So the planet of positivity and good things enters our section of home and family after it's been like under heavy fire from this Mars retrograde for such a long period of time. So I think this will be a very, very welcoming relief, and it will give us like a renewed sense of purpose around our home and family. And I think Jupiter in Cancer will like really result in people wanting to spend more time at home. And I think the biggest topic will be like how to become more self-sufficient and bring like a lot of expansion in that. A lot of people are going to be feeling very hopeful and will have a lot of optimism to like start living off the land more. So becoming independent and self-sustainable. A lot of people will start to grow a family and experience a lot of happiness in that, and yeah, maybe grow some crops along the way as well. So something very significant will change about our homes, and I'm looking forward to having Jupiter, the great beneficer, in its exaltation in the sign of Cancer. So we also have Uranus that's going to shift into Gemini on July 7th. And yes, prepare yourselves. This will be like a very, very mad science inventions. So yeah, expect crazy innovations regarding our internet. Our means of transportation will be completely renewed and innovated. And we're also going to have like totally new phones. I think it's going to be bigger than we can imagine right now because, yeah, it's Uranus, and Uranus is very unexpected developments or like things that we cannot fully understand with our consciousness right now. And it's going to be bigger than we all think of right now. And the last time Uranus was in Gemini was in 1941 until 1949. And the US is going to have its Uranus return. So Neptune in Aries was the Civil War. And when Uranus was in Gemini last time, we had World War II. So we can see some clearly indications of brewing tension. And 2026 will be very, very important for the US. But more on that later. It's not to scare you, it's just like to give you like an understanding about the current energy that we're going to have to be dealing with. But going back to Uranus and Gemini at a more mundane level, we had like the invention of the first computer last time it was in Gemini. So we had like a very, very post-war tech boom, and the information age started. So a lot of developments in communication and technology. During the summer, we will get like a first glance at all these new things that are about to come out. And in my video about the new moon in Aquarius, which trines Jupiter, the planet of expansion, I talked about like all these new big AI developments that were gonna come very soon, and the next day they like announced DeepSeek AI, and I was like, wow. I'm sometimes still baffled about like the planetary influence on our life and how it's like impacting our whole collective consciousness. So if we talk a bit more about 2025 and what all these planetary shifts actually mean together. So with all of them changing signs, so Pluto in 2024, Uranus in 2025, and Saturn and Neptune will shift in 2026. So it is statistically very, very rare for them to like change signs so close to one another in time. The positive news is that all the outer planets are sextiling and trining each other almost by exact degrees. So Pluto in an air sign in Aquarius, March Neptune in a fire sign in Aries, sextiling Pluto, Saturn moving right along with Neptune into Aries in May, and then in July Uranus will move into Gemini, making like a trine with Pluto and a sextile with Saturn and Aries. Like, this is crazy, and like I will dive deeper into the aspects in part 3 of this 2025 series, because I really want to show you like how incredible this really is. So all the other planets normally bring like massive change over a long period of time, but because they're all making aspects toward each other, there's going to be like massive change over a very, very short period of time. And it will be like all this change will be installed on Earth over the next 3 to 4 years. So yeah, it's like, it's insane actually. It's about like a whole new vision being brought into our reality. Vision is Neptune, reality is Saturn. And they will making like luckily harmonious aspects toward each other. But I'm not gonna lie, Neptune and Saturn together are linked to very, very big historical shifts, and it's not an easy time if you look back in history. So even though they all make beautiful aspects towards each other, I don't want to spiritually gaslight you. A Neptune-Saturn conjunction is harsh, because Neptune rules compassion, Saturn rules limitations, and has a very refraining energy. So we can simply look at it as compassion being reframed or getting blocked by Saturn. And that's what I think is so crazy and wild about this conjunction, is that that is going to take place at the EC of the US Sibley chart. And that is like pointing towards its borders. So yeah, a lot of things are going to be happening with this aspect. And I will make like very, very big deep dive into that. Because we all feel like a little bit ill at ease. We feel like something big is going to happen, and there's like a big storm on the horizon. But remember that not all storms are bad, because storms take natural tension away and they resolve it. So we can like really feel it in our 5 senses, that there's like something around the corner, and we don't know what it is with Neptune and the North Node in conjunction right now, and all of this happening into the late degrees of Pisces. And Pisces, it is about storms, it is about cyclones, it is about water that washes up and gets everything dragged into the water. It's like a very, very big clearing. So this year we can like feel very, very flooded, literally, but also figuratively speaking. So yeah, with that being said, we're gonna take a look at the new and the full moons of 2025. And what's interesting about the new and the full moons is that a lot of these new moons are happening at the 9th degree. So since November 2024, up until the solar eclipse that we're going to have in March, all the new moons are at a 9 degree, which is like very, very rare. and like very, very special, with 2025 being like a 9-year. So yeah, it's like, and the 9th degree in astrology is the sign of Sagittarius. So it's like completion. Number 9 is completion, and Sagittarius expansion. So even though we have new moons, and normally new moons are about planting seeds, about setting intentions, still it's a year of 9, and it's happening at the 9th degree. So the new moons are still like a bit about completion as well. So the new moons are a bit more difficult this year, I'm not gonna lie. This just like points out towards the completion of a cycle. So here we have the new and the full moons of 2025. You can like take a screenshot and save it for later if you want to look back at them. It's nice to have. And I'm going to highlight a few of the moons. I'm not going to highlight them all, just some that like stood out to me. The full moon in Leo will square Uranus almost exact. So that can be like a bit of surprising and a bit shocking. And I'm going to dive deeper into my next full moon video. That's going to be happening on February the 12th, the full moon in Leo. And then we also have like a new moon in Pisces. So this will be like in the same sign where Saturn currently is residing, and of course also Neptune and the North Node. So we have been dealing with a lot of Pisces energy lately, and this new moon in Pisces that we're going to have on February the 28th, it could feel a little bit stifling, a little bit confusing, because we're going to have, I think, 6 planets in Pisces if you count the North Node with it. So special time, really focus on spiritual practices during that time. And the ones that are like highlighted in brown, that these are going to be the eclipses, but I will skip the eclipses just for a second because I will dive deeper into that. I'm first going to highlight the other moons. And so on a more positive note, mark your calendar, because the best new moon of the entire year will be the new moon in Cancer. And that will be happening on the 25th of June. So we have the moon in its own sign in Cancer at the 4th degree of Cancer, and the 4th degree is a Cancer degree. So yeah, that's like a very, very positive one for sure. And it's of course conjunct Jupiter exalted in Cancer. So yeah, very good time to plant big new seeds. I think this will be like one of the only new moons when you really like want to start something or implement something new, that will be a time to do it. If you're like planning something big, save it for then. It will have like massive growth and expansion. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So if you're like a Cancer, or if you have placements in Scorpio and Pisces, that's going to be like good news for you, because all of your aspects and planets and things that you're having in water signs will get a boost. So another moon is like the new moon in Leo, and we're going to have that on the 25th of July. And this one will exactly oppose Pluto. So that will be like a rather harsh one. So yeah. Another interesting full moon will be the one in Aries, because around that time Mars will be in Scorpio. So Mars is Aries ruler. With that being in Scorpio, it will be a very, very intense one for sure. Very, very financial also, as well. And that's going to like happen on the 6th of October. So yeah, conflicts around money can pop up for the whole collective, but also already during March, when we have Venus retrograde happening at that time, finances will be very, very a very big topic this year. Yeah, I think it will be like a very, very key theme with the Mercury and Venus retrograde in the sign of Aries, going back to Pisces. Aries means conflict. Pisces can be about dissolving the dissolvement of money. And while that's all happening, Uranus will then go to its critical 29th degree of Taurus. Venus is the planet of money. It belongs to Taurus. So yeah, Uranus, it is the planet of shocks. So we can like really expect some major surprises around money and love throughout the whole year of 2025. Then the new moon on Scorpio that we're having on November 20th will be opposite Uranus, so that will also be a rather surprising one. And then we're also going to have like the new moon in Sagittarius on December 9th. That will like square Neptune, so also not a very easy one. So yeah, remember that like a lot of the new moons can feel a bit challenging. This is a year of completion, so there will be more emphasis on the full moons. And it's also very, very interesting that this year we're going to have like 2 moons in the sign of Virgo. So Virgo, brace yourself. Last year we had 2 full moons, I think, in Capricorn. So that put like a very big emphasis on Capricorn. This year it will be 2 new moons in Virgo. We're going to have one at 0 degrees, which is like very, very big. 0 degrees is very important. And that's going to happen on August the 23rd. And we're going to have like a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo on September the 21st. And that will be at 29 degrees of Virgo. And I think that will be a time that is going to be difficult for the whole world. Because it's at 29 degrees, it's going to oppose Saturn. We will look into it. Mark your calendars. September 21 or the 21st will be very, very, very pivotal. And yeah, Virgo, it rules over being of service towards others, wanting to like perfect everything, paying attention to the small details, feeling like you have to clean up after others, and getting you and your shit together. That's like the sign of Virgo. Virgo also has to deal a bit with anxiety. So yeah, the lunar and the solar eclipse in Virgo will definitely highlight those themes this year for the whole collective. So with that being said, that brings me to the eclipses of 2025. And of course, because the nodal axis shifted into the north node shifted into Pisces, the south node in Virgo, we all have like new set of eclipses coming this year. So we're gonna dive a bit into that. So on March 13th or 14th, depending on where you live in the world, we will have like a total lunar eclipse in Virgo that will be like at 23 degrees. And I do want to highlight that Nostradamus, a very, very big astrologer, already predicted some very, very big shift, very, very intense happenings on Earth. That's going to happen like on the 17th of March. So he already predicted that in the year 1500. We're almost there right now. He has like never been wrong. So yeah, brace yourselves for March, because it will be a very, very big time for our world. We're going to have then the last solar eclipse in Aries that will happen on March 29th. And then we're also going to have a total lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7th and a solar eclipse in Virgo at 29 critical degrees in September the 21st. So if you have like noticed, there will be like no solar eclipses in Pisces. There will only be lunar eclipses in Pisces. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Big culminations, big endings, big completions, and a lot of emotions. And this again like correlates to the number 9 and all the planet changing signs, a year of completion. Because lunar eclipses are also are always about letting go. So let's take a look at the first eclipse. That will be the lunar eclipse in Virgo on March the 14th. And we have not had these eclipses in the last 18 years. So it's the first one with the nodal change and the sign of Virgo Pisces, and the mutable signs, or people who have a lot of planets in the last degrees of the mutable signs, will be very, very affected by this. And that will be Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces. So this is going to be South Node eclipse. It's about emotional purging, and Mercury is the ruler of this eclipse, and it's in Aries at 9 degrees. And it is the same degree as the solar eclipse in Aries that will happen 2 weeks later, also at 9 degrees. So yeah, what happens like around this time will give us like insights about like the upcoming themes for the solar eclipse 2 weeks later, because they are like definitely connected in a very big way. If we look at the second one is a solar eclipse that will happen in Aries on March the 29th. So yeah, this one will be at 9 degrees, the exact same degree where at the previous lunar eclipse, Mercury stationed like retrograde. So yeah, this will be like the last eclipse on the Aries Libra axis. And it's very, very important because Mercury and Venus will start to go retrograde over this degree. So at the beginning of March 2nd or March 1st, depending on where you are, Venus will station retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. A little bit later, Mercury is going to station retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. 2 weeks later, we have the solar eclipse in Aries at 9 degrees. This is so crazy, with it being like the year of 9. And the 9th degree, it is very, very important because it makes an opposition to the last solar eclipse that we had in Libra on October 2nd last year in the fall. That was like at 10 degrees of Libra. And these eclipses are like still playing out, and I think it will like cause major breakups in relationship during the spring, especially with Venus retrograde over the same degree, especially if you have like planets around 9 degrees in the cardinal signs, which are of course Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And the ruler of this eclipse is Mars, and Mars is at the time at 22 degrees of Cancer. And it's still in a fall position, which means it does not want to be there. But luckily, Mars is no longer retrograde and does make beautiful aspects to Uranus and Saturn, and also the North Node. But still, it is like opposing the very, very important Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn that we had in 2020 that kicked off the whole pandemic. Mars at 22 degrees, everything that happened in 2020 happened around 22 degrees of Capricorn. So yeah, all these planets like moving in and out of Aries into Pisces, something very, very big will end, and it's going to be like a big restart and like a kickstart. And we will definitely need to work out some things by the end of February, all the way up until late spring. So the next eclipse is the lunar eclipse in Pisces. And I think this is okay. It's at 15 degrees of Pisces. And the full moon lunar eclipse that we're having, that time will be trining its ruler Jupiter. So that is positive. I like it. Jupiter is exalted, so it likes to be in Cancer. So I think this, from all the eclipses, this will be like the most positive one, I guess. But we're gonna have like one that like really sucks coming up after that. So 14, 15, 60 degrees of the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces will feel the positivity very, very strongly from this one. It's a North Node eclipse, so new destined things, magical things can emerge. So make very good use of this beautiful energy. The sign of Pisces is very, very spiritual. It can be about a very big spiritual intervention, also, or some sort of big message and synchronicities and signs coming through. And this will be a very, very important time to listen to your intuition. If you tune into this spiritual eclipse and like listen to the signs and like really trust in the divine and surrender during that time, it can give you like the much needed strength for the next eclipse that follows after that, because we're gonna need it. Maybe spirit can like try to show you some things or give you some clues about the upcoming solar eclipse in Virgo, and that will be a difficult one. We will need to like surrender and trust the process. And this is the eclipse that I'm talking about, the solar eclipse in Virgo that we're going to be having on September the 21st. So it's at 29 degrees, guys. It's a critical degree. It's a south node eclipse, so big release. This will especially impact the late degrees of Virgo and the early degrees of Libra if you have a sun, moon, or rising there. And of course, all the late degrees of the mutable signs and all the early degrees of the cardinal signs. So yeah, this eclipse, it is opposite Saturn, opposite Neptune. Neptune will be at 0 degrees of Aries, and 0 degrees of Aries is the world axis. Whenever like a big bad boy like Pluto, Neptune, or Saturn or Uranus, like if one of the more slower moving planets conjunct the world point axis, events on a very, very big global stage always take place. And I think this will be like a difficult one. It's going to be a very difficult time in regards to health for the entire collective, physical, but also mental health. And the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and Mercury is in Libra, the scales of justice, having to balance things out. Mars will also be at the critical 29 degree of Libra. Eclipses opposite Neptune. The dispositor of Neptune is Mars. Mars is in Libra, so fights in relationships that can like end up in legal battles. But also like legal battles about our health and well-being. Big Pharma will be under very, very big pressure. And Saturn in the last degrees of Pisces can also point out towards like a big, big karmic payout related to those in authority that have to take care of our health. This eclipse is trine Pluto and Uranus, so expect like intense and sudden news in relation to our health that can cause some kind of clearing. It's going to be a time of big truths, big revelations, and it's a south node eclipse, so it's connected to the past. And past procedures are like up for review, and I guess these people have to pay for it then. And it's about time, don't you think? It's been 5 years since, and I have been waiting on these eclipses in the sign of Virgo and Pisces for the truth to like really come out in regards to our people in authority that have misused their power in regards of the collective health. But yeah, the trine from the eclipses to Pluto and Uranus, it like means that some intense or unexpected news regarding to that will work like in favor of humanity. The sad part is that these revelations will be like coming out because like a lot of people are going to be passing away during that time, and that's like the negative manifestation of Pluto in Aquarius. So yeah, Pluto destruction in Aquarius, groups of people or the collective, so it can be painfully obvious what went wrong in the last couple of years in regards to our health, and Saturn, the Lord of Karma, will make those who done it pay. Pisces is also about jails, hospitals, mental asylums, mental health. Virgo is about our physical health, so a big, big, big emphasis on those things in the next 18 months, especially with all the eclipses in those signs as well. And Saturn and Neptune together in Aries, illness, mental, physical health. Aries rules over our blood, inflammation of the heart, strokes. All these things can like really pop up under this influence. And yes, Saturn, it like limits. Saturn blocks. So Saturn has a blocking effect in Aries. That can be like the blood. The blood is red. Blood getting blocked by Saturn can like even result in blood clots. And I know that has been like a very big theme lately, but this transit or this eclipse will definitely increase that. I did mention that people were gonna get probably sick in a higher number. It's gonna be probably connected to water contamination, because Saturn and Neptune, when they are closing into each other, they are connected to plagues. I do, however, hope it's not gonna manifest in this way, but there is a possibility of water contamination, and this eclipse will be like a kickoff for that, for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that is going to take place in March 2026. So from this moment leading up to March 2026, There can be like more people getting sick, and it can have something to do with water or water contamination. And we know that RFK is gonna try to remove fluoride from the water. And I think when there's going to be a problem popping up in regards to water, they're going to try to blame it on him. That is like something that I like strongly felt, and there's like a big astrological potential for that to happen. So with that being said, I know it's not sounding good, but I do want to like highlight the more difficult themes that have a potential of popping up in 2025. Especially during the fall, especially Scorpio season is going to get more intense than other years. And it's already a very, very intense period for sure. Yeah, as I just already said, it's not a time for spiritual gaslighting. And I do want to make people aware about possible dangers in the water, possible flooding that's going to come as well. And with that being said, we're gonna look a bit at the retrogrades. We see here the Mercury retrogrades, and all of them are gonna take place in fire signs. So last year we looked at planets like Mars and Venus because they were the rulers of the South and the North Node. Because the nodes were, of course, in Aries and in Libra, and those signs, Mars and Venus, rule Aries and Libra. And because the nodes now shifted, our focus shifts towards Neptune, but especially Jupiter, because the North Node is in the sign of Pisces right now. And with the South Node being in Virgo, Mercury belongs to Virgo. So Mercury retrogrades are going to be more about releasing this year than other years as well. So again, an emphasis on completion, letting go, reviewing things and wrapping things up. This is like the biggest major theme of 2025. And Jupiter is important now because it's in the sign of Gemini. So Jupiter rules the North Node. It is in the sign of Gemini, and Gemini is a Mercury-ruled sign. So Jupiter in a mercurial sign, do you see like the connection and like the importance of that? And the Mercury retrogrades will have like a bigger impact because the South Node is in Virgo. So yeah, the first one is gonna start on March 15th, and it's gonna, of course, start in Aries. It's gonna go back to the late degrees of Pisces, and it will end on April the 7th. So Aries, Pisces, yeah, it's like the beginning Aries, the end Pisces, and retrogrades are always about like reworking, reevaluating everything that's like related to communication, because that is what Mercury rules. So communication, contracts, learning, business, and also our mind. And because the retrograde is going to start in a fire sign, there's like a big emphasis of like taking action, and then it's going to go back into a water sign, and that's going to be like more emotionally oriented. So it's going from masculine fire to feminine Pisces. It's like from the beginning to the end. So this will be a very important retrograde, the first Mercury retrograde, because it will be accompanied by a Venus retrograde as well, and they will both like go back over Neptune, over Saturn, and like the North Node conjunction. So yeah, that's going to be a very big one, the first one here in March. The second one will start on July the 18th, and it's going to go from 15 degrees of Leo all the way back until the 4th degree of Leo. So it will stay on Leo. It will end on August the 11th. But during that Mercury retrograde, that time we will see like a new moon in Leo, and it will oppose Pluto. So yeah, and a few days later Mercury retrograde will end. So intense themes are going to pop up for the collective because of the opposition to Pluto that is going to make the second Mercury retrograde. And then the last one is on November the 9th, and it's going to start at 6 degrees of Sag, and it's going to move back all the way until Scorpio at the 20th degree, and it will end on November 29th. So We also had like Mercury retrograde in Sag, and we had it last year in the fall of 2024. But because this one will retrograde back into the most intense sign of the zodiac, into Scorpio, yeah, this will also be like one that like ruffles some feathers. But we will talk more about all these retrogrades whenever the time comes. Here we see the Venus, Mars, Jupiter retrograde dates. I'm going to dive deep into the Venus retrograde right now. And Mars will end on the 24th of February. So that's soon, luckily. And yeah, it's like Mars in Cancer is very, very crabby, overly defensive. It's a bit moody, and it's about domestic issues and more conflict with the family. So yeah, when Mars retrograde ends, it will like, when it moves direct, it will be better because the North Node is no longer in Aries. So Mars does not influence the North Node anymore. So we're not going to be so affected, and we're not going to feel it as intensely as the past couple of months. And when Mars does go direct, it will like trine Mercury, so our communications will get improved, and we will be more likely to express ourselves in regards to family in a more action-oriented way, not so moody anymore. Mars retrograde will also trine Saturn, so it will be good for making like long-term goals in regards to family. It will also be trining the North Node, so all these good aspects. I think the worst, I feel like the worst of Mars retrograde is going to be over once it like turns direct. And the Mars retrograde, the ending of that will be very important for Aries, Scorpio, Leo, and Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. So that's going to be good news. And I will not go very in depth about Mars retrograde, as I've posted like 2 in-depth videos about them. So if you want to know more about it, you can check them out if you want that. Jupiter will be direct for most of the year. Look at that. That's some very good news. So very good for home, family, and real estate. And here we see the dates for the outer planets. You can screenshot it and look at them later if you want. The only important part is that Pluto will go retrograde on May 4th. The others I will highlight in another video. I want to first put some attention on the Venus retrograde. So it will start in Aries at 10 degrees, go all the way back to Pisces, 24 degrees. So if you have some Sun, Moon, or Rising, or very important planets hanging around those degrees, then you're like in the direct line of fire. These retrogrades will impact you a lot because Mercury will also accompany Venus during that time. So that will happen from March the 2nd until April the 13th. And as I already said, like all retrogrades are about reevaluation, rearranging, can be about some blockages and about difficulties with love and money. And Venus will move backwards in the Martian sign of Aries. She will be there from February the 4th, and she will lose her strength in the sign of Aries. She does not perform well in that sign because Aries is like the sign of independence, of conflict and war, and it's like about expression of the self, doing new things, starting new things, and Aries has a very, very pioneering spirit. And Venus is a planet of love, union, beauty, and attraction. And as she travels through the zodiac, her expression changes according to the 12 signs that she goes through. So Venus in Aries is debilitated because she opposes one of her natural signs of Libra. So there can be like a trouble in sustaining relationships. There's like more interest in starting new ones and like all the excitement that brings. And that's why people who are born with Venus in Aries mostly pick the wrong guys. They go for like the martial figures who are not always the best choice. Think about the bad boy archetype. So yeah, not very ideal for long-term partnerships. And because we're now all going to like partake in that energy, we might notice more selfishness behavior in our relationships, as well as impulsiveness. So really use this energy in a healthy way to like reignite some spark or do like some new things together if you're having a relationship. And on a more mundane level, Venus in Aries rules over diplomatic relationships between countries. So there will be under more tension. The diplomatic nicety can be lacking, and they will like start to push certain boundaries. And Trump will have his Venus retrograde in the 8th house of intensity, and I will take a look at his chart just in a second. Because it's going to be very impactful for Trump and for the world. So Venus will move retrograde in conjunction with Mercury, which also goes retrograde in the same sign of Aries only 2 weeks later. And this will be especially a more challenging time for relationships. And we can be like more critical at the ones we have. And we might look at what we have been having in the past. And we can like start comparing that. And Mercury and Venus, they are the heart and the mind, and they are like not seeing eye to eye. So a very big reassessment about love, about self-love, and how to spend your money. Because if you like jump into something new during the period that Venus in Aries is going to go retrograde, you like might regret that decision whenever Venus retrograde ends. So yeah. Venus 10 degrees, Mercury at 9 degrees, solar eclipse in Aries on the 9th degree, all the new moons at a 9th degree, very special time period here in March. So yeah, with the 9th degree being a Sag degree, it like blows things out of proportion. And because Venus will start in Aries, move back into Pisces, a lot of people can feel alone, even if they're like in a relationship. Because Pisces is about feeling lost. And I do predict that a lot of relationships will end under this influence, because Pisces is about letting go. So be careful about cheating. Be careful when you meet someone new that can seem very magical, but be careful about illusions and about rose-colored glasses in love. The last degrees of Pisces can cause a lot of confusion in money and in love, and it will hit Neptune, so a lot of deception in love and money for like the whole world during that time. It's going to hit the North Node as well, so a lot of distant, heartbreaking situations. And it's like about sacrificing something, it's about losing something, or like having to forgive someone at a level you've like never had to do before in your life. Can be about setting the other free, and Pisces also is about unconditional love. And sometimes the best thing you can do when you really love someone is to either let them go or to like fully forgive them when something like bad happens with this influence. And on the other hand, we will need to learn like how to love unconditionally, and maybe we really need to like forgive partners for making certain mistakes in regards to love, but also in regards to handling the finances. And Neptune and Pisces can also be about past life situations. So you can like bump into someone from the past, and some things might need to be completed. It can feel very dreamy, very magical if that's someone new. So maybe it's someone from a past life as well. But just know when you start something under this influence, it might not be long lasting due to the retrograde. It can be a very short period in life where you experience something truly wonderful, and then you might need to let it go. So it might not be the right timing, or it might not be the right timing because the other person can be married. Something can be blocking between you because of the presence of Saturn in Pisces as well. So yeah, be mindful about weird triangle situations in love. Don't become the third wheel. The influence of Neptune and Pisces can be so strong, but in the end, Pisces wants us to let go. So yeah, a lot of people are gonna want to make big sacrifices in love as well. But be mindful that it's not your task to fix everyone's problems, because Pisces can be can be about martyrdom, can be about giving everything away, and after that you will feel like completely empty. And Saturn and the North Node are also very, very closely tied to karma. So a lot of karmic relationships will end or start during this time. It's like about destined meetings, partners from the past, past life situations that are getting reenacted. And yeah, some will definitely meet someone from a past life to like karmically clear things out. This Venus retrograde is like really Carmageddon for love. And whatever is meant to happen will definitely happen. If it's meant to come back to you, it will. If it's meant to end, it will end. But on a more positive note, some of the lucky ones, and they're only going to be like a few, are going to have like a true soulmate relationship coming in for them as well. Yeah, Pisces and Neptune, they do rule soulmates and past life, but it really like depends on your personal chart, and I would advise you to like act with caution and maybe wait to like fully commit until this retrograde period is over. Saturn wants to like take stock, take time, and Saturn is also about commitment, but it can create definitely some chaos in the sign of Pisces. But it can be about like a karmic duty that needs to be handled. And whenever things end, it can be like a completion of some sort of soul contract as well. So maybe some are meant to leave your life during this cycle. Maybe some are meant to come back and help you like on the next stage of your journey. But it can be like for a temporary time. And if you do feel alone and like no one is coming in, be mindful that maybe the universe is like protecting you from a whole lot of drama during this time. It can be like a big gift. So try to look at it from this perspective. Maybe you're the lucky one. Yeah, and the other ones like really, really focus on connecting with the divine and dive into spiritual practices. If you do feel alone, remember you are never alone. Society like creates this split in nature. Actually, we're like all connected, and everything will happen at the divine timing. And divine timing will be a very, very biggie with all this energy playing out right now. And a lot is going to happen, and during Pisces season as well. And don't try to like hold in the chaos. Don't fight it. If tricky situations do come up, it will be easier to let them go, because like holding on to things during this time could like really prove to have like very difficult karmic results. It could feel like you like temporarily are going to lose your mind. Some will definitely feel this influence. Pisces can get a little bit crazy, I'm like not gonna lie. In its higher manifestation, it rules spirituality and all things unconditional love and wholeness and union. But in its lower manifestation, it can create a lot of deception, a lot of illusion, and a lot of fog. So Pisces is a sign that rules over mental health issues, and with all these lunar eclipses in Pisces, very, very strong emotions are going to get triggered during the year here. Yeah, some are going to like want to hold on to their lover, because Pisces is also about over idolization. So yeah, really looking at them with those rose-colored glasses, but in reality they're actually maybe making each other go crazy. So yeah, some will definitely have been very, very blinded about like their partner's mistakes, and this retrograde could like really force you to look at your partner in a more realistic way. It's about facing reality and love due to Saturn's presence as well. And some will find out that their perfect partner has been lying or cheating, or something from the past will pop up in regards to how they like acted in love, or how they acted with joint finances as well. So yeah, some will start to know about some concealing in love, or your partner has been concealing in something in regards to money. Can also be like related to your partner's past or their former love relationship, and about something that gets out into the open, and it can be a bit of a bummer. And yeah, after Venus goes back direct, what's it gonna do? It's gonna go in Aries, so it's gonna cause a lot of conflict. Yeah, this is going to be like a big learning period, and some difficult situations mostly lead towards new bright beginnings. And maybe when we look back in time later, how hard or how painful it actually was, maybe in time you'll be like happy that it happened. So some difficult situations can really be hidden gifts, and maybe some will have to let someone go. But in like 2026, after the next Venus retrograde that we're gonna have then in the next 18 months, after that period, it's gonna be very good for finding new love. But up until then, it's maybe best to wait, to not jump into things. Because yeah, we have like this next Venus retrograde from October the 3rd until November the 13th in 2026. And after that time, a lot can change in love relationships in general. But we first need to like move past this other retrograde, that is going to happen now in March. We need to wait until the end of 2026, and then it will be more easier to find like the perfect match. Like, do remember that 2025 is a year of completion, of transition. So if you let someone new in right now, it's maybe not going to last very long. And very important, if you are planning on getting married under this influence, I would like strongly advise you to like postpone your wedding. Like, I'm serious, don't get engaged right now. Retrogrades are about the past. Don't go back to someone who was like already lucky enough to have you and didn't value you. Be careful about investments. Right now, I would not be making long-term investments during this time period. And also, yeah, be very careful about people from the past that are coming back into your life during this time. So on April the 12th, Venus will station and turn direct again at 24 degrees of Pisces. But it's only going to be on May the 16th that Venus will leave her post-retrograde shadow. And on May the 16th, Venus will be back at 10 degrees of Aries. So that will be like a better time to make certain decisions in love, or if you do want to commit, I would like advise you to wait after the middle of May. And those who are going to be very influenced by this retrograde are going to be, of course, if you're Venus ruled, such as Taurus or Libra rising, you like feel this impact more strongly than others. But of course, also Aries and Pisces rising, it will go over your rising, so you will get a very big impact about that. So yeah, at the time when Mars retrograde ends on the 24th of February, a couple of days later, Venus will start to go retrograde. So this means we will only have like a couple of days when all the planets are moving direct. It's like, it's like extremely weird. It can be a bit of a weird time. It doesn't happen very often, only having a couple of days with all planets moving direct. It's actually rather rare. So yeah, and like the energy is already present right now. Venus has already crossed over her 24 degrees of Pisces, so that's like the pre-shadow phase zone, and all these aspects that we're seeing happening right now in the beginning of the year will like happen again in April as well. So there's like a big something big gets played out, especially in Aries and Pisces right now. And then I also wanted to like highlight what this energy is going to do in the chart of NATO, because like this is looking rather tense. So if you look at the chart of NATO, I think with the eclipses in Aries, by the end of March, we're going to see like a very big escalation of global conflict. And of course, also about all the wars that have been going on, and it will happen during the month of April. NATO has a stellium in Aries, and NATO's chart gets like severely afflicted during this time period. And after all that I've like just mentioned, all these things are going to be happening in the 7th house of allies. So a setback in regards to money and war, a setback or a big renegotiation about contracts, business dealings with allies. Seventh house. Seventh house can also be open enemies. A solar eclipse conjunct their Mars. It is like insane, because everything that's gonna happen at 9 or 10 degrees of Aries, like we see a Mars in Aries here in the chart of NATO. Yeah, Mars, Mars, the planet of war and conflict, and the sign of Aries, it belongs to Aries. It's in its home sign, so it has a stronger manifestation. Mars likes to be in Aries, and all these retrogrades are gonna happening exactly conjunct the Mars, the planet of conflict, strife, and war in NATO's chart. So yeah. And like with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction getting closer, we know and we've seen in history that it's like very, very tightly linked to all sorts of happenings for Russia. Because Putin was born under a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Stalin died under a Neptune-Saturn conjunction. The Berlin Wall fell during a Neptune-Saturn conjunction, and we're gonna see this again. So yeah, all eyes will be on Russia for sure, starting from March, April, all the way up until March 2026. But it's like also indicating like a very, very big crisis for Europe in April. And because it's like this last solar eclipse in Aries in the sign of war, and this eclipse cycle coming to an end, but they will like have impact over the next 6 months still. So we can also see like a very important ceasefire. I think maybe Russia will bounce back, and I think Ukraine and NATO, and they will like all be forced to negotiate about a peace treaty, especially if our new sheriff in town decides to leave NATO. Then things are going to get quite complicated, and Ukraine will not have enough funds anymore. So maybe the last solar eclipse in Aries, in the 7th house of NATO, in open enemies, in the house of allies, maybe something big gets wrapped up, money will go down, negotiations, business contracts will be re-looked at, organized. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting time for NATO during March. And then let's look at the new sheriff in town, because yeah, we can see the planetary mashup in Aries and Pisces happening in Trump's 8th house. So yeah, the 8th house is the house of transformation. It's about rebirth, it's intensity, it's crisis, it's the traditional Scorpio house. So yeah, and the solar eclipse in the sign of Aries rules leadership. It's the warrior, it's war, it's like primal cardinal fire. It will like exactly square his Mercury in the 11th house. So all the contracts that get signed, Mercury, it can be in regards to society because it's in its 11th house, or in regards to big groups of people, which also belongs to the 11th house. Mercury also rules cities, but that's in an event chart. Yeah, it's like it's also going to portray in regards to the safety and the comfort, the home, because it's in Cancer, Mercury here that gets afflicted. So I think all these things that are getting signed during this time, I think these contracts will be very auspicious. The trines, the oppositions, the Saturn square to his sun. Yeah, it's not looking pretty, to be honest. Yeah, by the middle of March, the whole world can be like, oh fuck, what's happening? So yeah, and like the first eclipse that we're gonna have in Virgo by the 14th of March, which I like highlighted, that Nostradamus said that something very big was about to happen. That eclipse will like square his sun exact, because the first eclipse in Virgo will be at 23 degrees of Virgo, and Trump's sun is 22 degrees. So yeah, it's like, yeah, the first eclipse in his 2nd house, this eclipse in Aries in his 8th house. The 2nd and the 8th house is about money. It's about my possessions versus those of others. It's about what I value versus what other people value. It's the axis of give and take here for Trump. And yeah, We can also see that like the first Mercury retrograde of the year during that time, and the Venus retrograde, which we only see every 18 months. And Mercury retros are important for Trump as he's a Gemini. So yeah, Mercury is his ruling planet. It will go retrograde in his 8th house. So yeah, it's like, yeah, I actually have difficulty in like finding words on how to tell you, or like how to like inform you how pivotal this time will be for him and for the entire world. And while like all of this plays out, we see like Jupiter coming into conjunction with Uranus here in Trump's chart. And Uranus is surprises, it is shocks, and Jupiter blows things out of proportion. So yeah, this aspect will like create big shocks in his role as a world leader, and his rebellious nature will like increase exponentially. We can also see that like Saturn and Mars, the two malefics, are like conjunct with each other in Trump's chart, and like a few days later, Neptune jumps at 0 degrees of Aries in his 8th house. Neptune rules his 8th house. So whenever a planet is conjunct the world axis, big global events happening, Neptune is chaos, confusion. Like, I'm gonna be honest, when I like look at this chart, I start a little bit sweating, and I'm not saying this to like frighten you or use some kind of fear tactics. I'm actually doing this to like make you conscious of it, to really show you that a very, very big important shift is gonna happen in March, in April. We have something special happening in August as well. I will dive deeper into that in the next part of this 2025 series. But definitely starting from March all the way until the summer, in August, we can see some sort of big crisis reaching its highest point. And if true leadership steps up, then we can reverse the crisis. We can like make things calm again. But it's going to be very, very, it's going to depend on how world leaders are going to handle the situation that will start from March all the way up until August. I hope in August it will like reach its point and like be reversed, and we can like let go and like sail around some things that might happen. So yeah, there's it's a lot, I'm not gonna lie. And if you're like aware of it, it can make you help like maybe distance yourselves from it a little bit. It's all written in the stars. It's all like very, very destined. So sometimes we need big storms in order to like clear out our path. And I think that is what 2025 will teach us. And we're gonna need to like let go of the control and just trust in the divine and in the planets that are just like doing their thing. And yes, it's gonna be a bit frightening, probably, what's about to happen, but still know that maybe we need to like have a big purging in order to like start a fully new cycle in 2026. So not to scare you, it's to make you aware so you don't get freaked out about what's about to happen. Then the last thing, yeah, I would have loved to talk a bit more about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction as well, but I will dive very, very deeply into this in the second part of this series. But before we end, I do want to like highlight the North Node conjunction with Neptune that is going to happen in the sign of Pisces, and that's going to start from February the 7th. So yeah, this is also again another conjunction that hasn't been historically easy. The North Node is portrayed to karma and destiny, and the North Node is where we need to go in life, and the South Node is where we've been and what we need to let go of. So whenever a planet like conjuncts the North Node, it is way more active than usual. So the world will like get an extra dose of Neptunian energy, and we're already feeling that very strongly right now. Neptune is the imaginable, the planet of spirituality, about dreams, but also the planet of illusions and deception. So whenever Neptune is activated, it's like a time to be extra careful. We're like not slipping into delusion, and that we're like not getting deceived. We need to be cautious about not seeing things clearly. And Neptune, of course, is also related to water and our oceans. And if you look back in history to these specific conjunctions between Neptune and the North Node, we see that very, very huge storms and cyclones manifest. On the 28th of April in 2008, there was like a very big cyclone in Myanmar. It caused like a storm surge, which was like 6 meters high, and flooded everything up into 15 kilometers inland and like killed 150,000 people. So if we go back another cycle, that was on the 9th of October in 1991, and it was in Canada. They called it like the perfect storm, and there was like a powerful cyclone that also caused a lot of damage. And then another nodal cycle back, that was then in December 1974, there was like Cyclone Tracy, and that destroyed like the Australian city of Darwin. So yeah, people are now, of course, wondering where it might be happening now. And for that, we can take a look at the astrocartography chart to see like which places are going to be more affected by this energy. So if we look, we can see like the Astro map, and it's like highlighting places of far western Canada, Brazil, eastern Canada, but also the Middle East, the Black Sea. Then we also have like East Asia and Korea. And another important thing I want to note is that like the LA fires, they happened when the North Node was at 0 degrees of Aries. Then it was already very closely conjunct Neptune. But the North Node then was in the fire sign of Aries, 0 degrees, world events, the world point axis. So maybe it has already like caused major damage, and maybe we have already seen the influence of the North Node Neptune conjunction. But and I hope this won't manifest in these areas which we are looking at right now. So with all of that being said, I know there will be bumps along the way. Just know that the universe always has your back, and that the things that are going to happen this year are very, very distant. It's going to be a very, very big karmic clearing that's about to happen. And Saturn, Neptune that are going to meet soon. They're like creating this whole new world right now, and we're like in the middle of the birthing process. So I know it won't be easy, but it's very, very necessary for our growth. And even after all I've just said, I'm still like wishing everyone a very prosperous and very happy 2025. It will be a year to like really delve into ourselves, to take a step back from being flooded, from feeling emotionally flooded about everything that's about to happen. Just focus on yourself, focus on your connection with the divine, because there can be like miracles happening if you do decide to do that right now. And yeah, it's like a very good time to do inner self work, to really explore all your spiritual practices. And whenever there's like too much chaos out there, just know that Jupiter will be jumping into Cancer in our home area. So I think whenever things get a little bit rough outside, it will be a good time to retreat and find happiness inside our homes, with our family, with our loved ones, and with our connection to the divine. So thank you so much for joining, and I will see you again for part 2 of this 2025 series, and then I will dive deeper into the Neptune-Saturn conjunction. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next time. Bye.